Okay, model purpose. Again, this is a fundamental rule of building models. Good models have a singular purpose. Bad models try and do too much. And it really is as simple as that. Good models are extremely tight in terms of what their fundamental purpose is. They're not trying to serve too many stakeholders. They're not trying to balance kind of competing requirements. They just have a single unitary requirement. And that allows them to have all aspects from granularity through to time series, through to dashboarding and outputs, all focused towards supporting a single main aim. By comparison, bad models try to do everything for everyone, and in the end they don't actually end up doing any one task particularly well. So for example, we often have clients coming to us saying, hey, we'd love to put together a budget model, can we also bolt on a strategic piece? Now the issue with that is that a budget model is A, monthly, B, it's extremely detailed in terms of how it's building up calculations. These are also typically bottom-up style calculations, so it's the number of pens times the cost of a pen. By comparison, a strategic piece, not only is that typically quarterly, semi-annual, annual in its time frame, it also tends to be much broader. There's less granularity in terms of categories, and not only that, but it's often top down from a calculation mechanism. So the risk you run in trying to balance a budgeting or a detailed forecast piece with a broader strategic aim is that your calculations are often going against each other, your granularity is inconsistent, your timeframes no longer make sense. And you end up with a model that the strategic guys can't use because it's got a whole bunch of detailed monthly analysis in there. And the budget guys really struggle with because there's all this broad strategic analysis getting in the way of their detailed bottom-up budgeting. Another confused type of model that I just want to touch on really quickly is the product strategy versus the rollout model. A product strategy model is a single snapshot to understand the profitability, performance, and impact of a single product on a standalone basis. So a good product strategy model will often ignore time. What you're looking at is prices, volumes, price elasticity, and those types of questions in a very compact, non-time-based piece of analysis. By comparison, a rollout model looks to try and apply a time-based aspect to the rollout of that particular product or strategy. The reason why I make reference to this is that in terms of the purpose of your strategic model, are you looking to answer the overarching product strategy, i.e. how should we price this, what volume should we be looking at, or are you actually then trying to understand the process of implementing that product into a market? And what we often see is people trying to answer the product strategy question at the same time as the rollout question. And they end up with a model that doesn't work so well for understanding how you might price things and overall product strategy. And at the same time, it's got so much complexity that the rollout mechanism then becomes confused. And you end up with a model that is hard to understand pricing and hard to understand rollout, and doesn't necessarily answer either question. So if you're in that strategic world, always think, what can I do to simplify my process? Can I take time out of the equation and answer one question first and then answer another question later? In terms of related topics, a whole host of interesting areas that this touches upon. So design, don't build. Have a think about what analytical process you're fundamentally trying to support and design a model from that point forwards. We'll also talk later about model types. So what type of model are you dealing with? And this even covers off things such as people confusing budget versus forecast, the conflation again of strategy versus simple planning. And also related to this is granularity. So a model with a certain granularity of time series should also have a certain granularity of analysis. So yeah, again, fairly obvious statement. A model should have a fundamental purpose. The more purpose and the more stakeholders you have, the more likely you are to end up with a model that doesn't satisfy anything particularly well.